Are you guys following what's happening in Benue State? Because I watched an interview between the governor of Benue State, Governor Harrison, and Charles from Arise News, where he was giving us feedback on what is happening in Benue State and progress reports. But to be fair, there was nothing tangible about that interview. There was nothing tangible that came out from that interview other than the fact that he admitted that these people were terrorists and not headers or bandits like they were going around saying. So now, in the late hours of Friday to the early hours of Saturday, that's between June 13 to June 14, just after Democracy Day, bear in mind that's June 12th. These terrorists came to Yawata community in Benue State, and what they basically did was to raise houses, kill, and there's a record of over 150 deaths, according to the governor. There's a record of over 150 deaths in Benue State as we speak. More people were taken to hospitals, and I think I read somewhere that 20 people dead at the hospital. While that is a terrible issue, looking at the state of the governor, he gave off lack of empathy. It felt like he was reading a speech. It felt like he didn't care, and he my head was blown when he was busy acknowledging the president for the previous things he has done in Benue State, like previous solutions to curb insecurity in Benue State. Let's give a timeline, right? Back in April 1st, or rather from April 1st to June 1st, terrorists have gone around killing people in Benue State in different communities, and there's a record of I think about 270 deaths, right, in Benue State, and because of this, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant Oluyede, he was told by the president to come to Benue State and see what can be done to curb insecurity, right? And he came there. The governor was telling us in this interview, in this recent interview, that when the chief of army staff came, they uh, strengthened security. They brought in more people. They mounted more security checks, things like that. And the interview now goes to say, okay, right, this person did that. He was told to relocate to Benue State to solve that issue, the issue of insecurity, because why are terrorists constantly going to people's lands, people's community, killing people and taking over? So since he was sent to Benue State to solve that issue, how did this one that took place recently, how did this happen? How did they bypass all the military checks, all the security stops? How did they bypass this reinforced, strengthened? How did they bypass these people to go about killing over 150 community members? And the governor goes to say that the terrorists went through the river, and their first point of attack was the military officers. They went to those checkpoints to attack the people. While he was saying all of that, I read a comment that said the river that this governor is talking about is smack in the middle of Makodi, and your water community is on the outskirts of Makodi, on the road to Nasarawa. So you can see before you get to you have to go through all of these channels before you actually get to the community. So how it didn't make sense to say they came in through the river. And even if they came in through the river, he says their first point of action was to try to overpower the security checks, and those ones push back. Of course, he's going to say that they push back. But meanwhile, these people, the terrorists, went on to Yawata community and they killed for hours and hours and hours. Imagine late into Friday night and into the early hours of Saturday, the governor goes to say, "Oh no, it's not. It wasn't that long. It was 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours is a long time. It's a very long time, and a lot can happen in 2 hours." But he says it's 2 hours. And then I'm thinking to myself, for 2 hours, they went on killing people. The reinforced strengthened, mounted all the checks, security people, the Benue chief of army, every all those. Not nobody came to the rescue of the community members. Is that what he's trying? Nobody came to the rescue of those community members. They left them to themselves, left them at the mercy of these terrorists. People were killed, houses were burnt. Let me read how many people so far. So now there are thousands of people that have been displaced, more than 6,527 people. And they include 1,000, over 1,700 females, over 750 males, over 650 children under 18 years, over 1,800 adults above 18, 200 and over 250 breastfeeding mothers, 82 pregnant women, 91 elderly people. And the question is, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point? The interviewer goes on to ask him, knowing that there was recent killings there was killings from April to June. Do you know the herders? Like, do you know these terrorists? Have you been able to identify them? And this man goes on to give us a lesson in geography. Please, are we asking for this border is in this border, that border? Is that the question? How are you telling us this Gome is in this border, that one is in that? Have you been able to identify these people? See, I decided to go back and just check deaths so far, right? And God bless BBC, they did a timeline of deaths, and starting from March, this is now in Plateau states. Northeastern states have been riddled with insecurity, and these are the states where food production, where agriculture is plentiful. But because of this land grabbing, this terrorism happening in these states, food insecurity has become a big issue in Nigeria, a land of milk and honey, land that is blessed with all the resources that we would ever need. Food insecurity is a big issue for us now. But let's go back. Let's go back to read what what was said. BBC interviews the governor of Plateau State, and he tells them what has been happening so far. So now, in March this year, 52 people were killed by terrorists. And despite all the hulabaloo, all the noise that brought on, nothing really was done about it, because killings still took place later on. In April, 38 to 50 people were killed in Plateau State, and it was mostly women and children that were killed. In May, 10 people 10 people were killed. This one, they call them headers. The youth in Plateau State decided that, okay, enough is enough, nobody's doing anything about it, we are going to do something about it. And so they went to kill cows. And they went to kill cows. The cow herders retaliated by killing 4 people, and later on they came back to kill about 6 people. Meanwhile, these cows, these herders are the same people who will take these cows to their farms, take it over, and they ruin crops, they ruin a lot of things, wasted efforts. So these youth said, okay, we are going to kill these cows. Enough is enough. Nobody's doing anything for us. Let's do something for ourselves. And they killed the cows. And then in June, over 150 people killed in Benue State. But what did the governor of Plateau State say when he was interviewed by BBC? Let's hear it. He says, this is BBC Pidgin. As I dey talk to you, no dey less than 64 communities wey don dey taken over by bandits for Plateau, between Boko's Bargain Ladi and Riyom local governments. Dem don take the communities over, rename them, and people dey live there comfortably on top lands wey dem pursue people comot and occupy. Can you imagine? So he's aware that 64 communities have been taken over by bandits, terrorists. have been taken over by terrorists. He knows these communities, and still, hey God, nothing is being done about it. Nothing is being done about it. Someone was saying somewhere, one of those security people, because to be honest, I don't care to know their names. If you're not being effective, I don't know what you're doing in your position. He was saying that usually when these kind of things happen, in the sense that terrorists will come to a community, burn, kill, when peacekeeping interventions start and security officials are now able to recover the land, they don't even do anything to help the community members. They just, okay, these people, we've pursued them from the land, you can go back to your land. There is no thought about securing the land for future purpose in case these terrorists come back to that land. And then he talks about the fact that the president sending the chief of army staff to Benue doesn't make sense, because they did the same thing in Borno and all these other states where insecurity is on the high, and that didn't work. So he's surprised why the president would do the same thing in Benue State, since that was a tactic that did not work. Because yeah, he came in the beginning of June to try and sort the insecurity happening in Benue State. I don't know if he's still there, but apparently whatever he did not work, because they still came again to Yawasa community and they killed people. They killed people. Back to the interview with the Benue State governor. So he's been asked, first, do you know the headers? Do you know the terrorists doing this thing? He doesn't know. He just keeps saying they are headers, they are bandits, whatever. He asks again, is there going to be any peacekeeping intervention? What is going to happen now? Since obviously the coming of the chief of army staff did not do anything. If these people were, he said they were overrun. He said these military people, security officials, they were overrun by the bandits, and I think the bandits terrorists. They're about, I think, 15 to 20. My thing is, when meaningful citizens want to protest, right? Let's take June 12th, for example, Democracy Day. Democracy Day, people said they were going to protest against the hardship happening in the country, and there was heavy military presence in the states where people came outside to protest. But 15 to 20 terrorists came to a community where there is lots of security checkpoints, because, like I mentioned before, Yawata community is on the road to Nasarawa. So there are lots of checkpoints there. Not just that, the chief of army staff has brought more people, brought more security officials to that state because of the killings. So you have all of these seemingly heavy presence of security people, and 15 to 20 terrorists were able to overrun them and go ahead to kill people. But when it's time for a protest, you will see lots of, in fact let me say, for ten people going out to protest, you see like 100 security. So how are you able to gather 100 security people for people who are unarmed, but you can't even use your own ammunition that you have been trained for to secure the lives and the land of people who are being terrorized? That was what you were sent to do, but you can't do that. Instead, for unarmed people protesting for your good and our good, you are able to come out in numbers. And somehow they stayed back for his 2 hours while they were killing people. Killing people. Anyways, he was asked about peacekeeping interventions, what is going to happen, since obviously the previous one did not work. So how is he going to? And this governor took offense. It's like, if you want me to answer your question, If you want me to answer your question, you give me chance to answer your question. You ask a question, let me respond. But man, you're not saying anything. You're not saying anything. He just keeps saying, "Oh, the presidency has also been supportive. Like, would like to use the opportunity to acknowledge the president." Are you mad? Are you? Hey, God! I just want to. I can't even say. To be honest, at this point, words don't mean anything. It's action that we need. So I am thankful for the youth who have spoken up, the youth in Benue, the youth in Abuja, who have come out to speak about the killings. Because if they didn't do that, the presidency, the government would have been silent because there was literal cricket. We could hear cricket. Nobody, even the news was not telling people about the killings in Benue because terrorism, insecurity have been normalized. Dating since Jonathan's time when we had the Boko Haram insurgency till now, people have gotten so used to the killings, to the insecurity that it's no longer news. It's no longer news. So there was silence at first, but when the youth started speaking up, going about with their placards, just crying, rallying, that's when they started to speak up. Well, that's when I think today the president of Nigeria is heading to Benue. I don't know what his presence is going to do for them, but he's heading to Benue to to be with to be with the people, to meet with the governor. I don't know what his presence is going to do for them, to be honest. There's a joke in Nigeria that when there's a crime, you call police. They are not present, but once the crime is over and done, that's when they come blazing with their guns and their cars and their presence. Like, oh, the savior has arrived. What can we do? Where are the criminals? Where were you when we needed you? So, anyways, I said let me look up peacekeeping interventions, and part of the case peacekeeping interventions involves the deployment of UN or ECOWAS forces to prevent attacks, protect civilians, or disarm fighters. I remember the incident that took place when a man was in his farm doing his work as usual, and then a terrorist came to his farm to try to kill him. Well, he disarmed the terrorist and killed him as he should. But then this man was sentenced to death. Why? He was sentenced to death. Why? Say it's not self-defense, it's manslaughter. I don't even. Oh my God. So do you see the boldness that they have? They have emboldened these terrorists. You would rather imprison people who are defending themselves, imprison protesters. But when it comes to terrorists, you don't kill them. What you do instead, you say, "Oh, we're going to put them in a rehabilitation center." And then after a few months, you bring them out and you say you want to bring them back to the communities where they killed people in, and those community people should accept them. Another thing is the fact that these houses that have been burned, especially in Plateau State, right, where those communities have been taken over. Like the governor said, these terrorists are using the land of somebody else. They are occupying it like it's their own. What happened to the people who own those lands who are now displaced? So they are impoverished. There's no welfare for them. The IDP centers, they are cramped. There are not enough resources to go around. Why not find a way to restore these people's homes, build their houses back, secure their community? But instead, you just keep petting these terrorists, petting them. I asked like, what can we do about it? And really, while we the civilians can only do so much, I'm grateful. Like I mentioned, people are protesting, they're lending their voices. The government, they have a huge stake in this. The government have a huge stake in this. So there's talk about local vigilante groups, CDS, and all of that. But these terrorists are armed. Civilians, of course, were not allowed to carry guns and stuff. But these terrorists are armed. What would their guns do against knife? Do against lives cannot continue to be extinguished. Something has to be done. Something has to be done. Lives cannot continue. People are living in terror every day. People are living in terror every day. I read an article. Well, it was a follow-up story on the people, the terrorists who attack communities, and then they are brought back to those communities, and they're telling the people in the community that, okay, well, these people who killed you, raped you, who did this to you, well, we have rehabilitated them, so please accept them back. And they are looking at them side eye. Somebody recognizes somebody that killed his son, and you do nothing to secure the community. You do nothing to build trust. You do nothing to reassure these people. And every single time they sleep with one eye open. In fact, they can't sleep. They are tired, they are weary, they can't sleep, their health condition is going bad every day. Who was it? One of them mentioned, let me read something here. One of them mentioned the hospitals in Makodi are calling for urgent blood donations for the people that were injured in the attack, and also humanitarian support for all the people in the IDP camps. There is no support from the government for these people, but you have a lot of support, a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion for terrorists, and not the innocent people whose lives are being destroyed. God help us.